After the whole Desolate Fortress trials ended, there were only 4 people who passed. Among them are one random old man, the white Qinlin, Nam Jung Yeonshin, the grin face, Won Chong, and lastly the lightning genius Yeonshin. The officer who escorts them asks whether they know what kind of work the Desolate Fortress does. Won Chong explains that to stop Murim's martial masters from overthrowing the imperial family. The officer reveals it's just one of the major things they do, and there is something else that they have to do. He explains further that they prevent or suppress a certain size of conflict from happening in the Jianghu. No one knows what would happen when a fight in Murim breaks out after all. A bloodstorm swept across the central plans on the day. There were rumors that the heavenly demon's grave was discovered. It would be fine if the fight was contained to those who covet manuals of ultimate martial arts or elixirs, but the heinous deeds of these vicious martial artists don't care if they affect martial artists or commoners. When one witnesses that hellish sight, the empire becomes unrecognizable. That is one of the disasters of the heavenly demon's grave. It has been 17 years since then. The officers add that the unorthodox sects and demonic factions aren't the problems. All orthodox groups, including the 9 great sects and 8 great clans, would also become problems. If the Desolate Fortress leaves them be, the people will suffer. Thus, if there is unrest among the people and taxes aren't paid on time, then the reign of the empire will have problems. That is why the imperial family provided them with huge amounts of money, elixirs, manuals, and martial masters. That is what all of them will be doing here at the Desolate Fortress. They must sever the heads of any martial artists that disrupt the lives of normal people. Before long, they arrive at their allocated abode for now. The officer explains they will be assigned to a place and be moved to the accommodations for that place. A week flies by, and Yeonshin diligently cultivates in his room. The long week he waited makes him wonder why would he get assigned later than he expected. A few more hours pass by, and Won Chong comes in to deliver the news. It has been decided that both of them are going to a combat squad called the Radiant Demon Squad tomorrow. Apparently, in those long weeks, they waited. There were rumors going around. The 17 combat squad captains under the Divine Sword Squad fought each other in order to take in new warriors. These 17 combat squad captains are the martial masters that represent the Desolate Fortress. All of them are sparring in order to recruit the White Qilin and the Lightning Genius. That is how Yeonshin will come to the Radiant Demon Squad. Both Yeonshin and Won Chong come to the arena of the Radiant Demon Squad the next day to receive their welcome. Won Chong is stupidly grinning at his new white robe uniform that signifies he is now a martial artist of Desolate Fortress, while Yeonshin is looking around to see the members of the Radiant Demon Squad. For some reason, they look like going to eat the tender body of the new member, but what is for sure is they are excited and hopeful for their newly joined member. On the other hand, Ma Jin, the Radiant Squad captain, is filled with killing intent as he is standing in front of them. Ma Jin is known to be the strongest among the 17 squad captains. Now that Yeonshin sees him in person, that turns out not to be just rumors. Right after, he intently looked at Yeonshin for a while with the purpose of intimidating him. With a menace in his voice, he calls out to Yeonshin, addressing him as the Lightning Genius. On the other hand, Yeonshin answers his call with confidence in his voice, surprising Ma Jin for a brief moment before he smirks. As he smiles, Ma Jin likes the fact that Yeonshin has a backbone, explaining that people like him don't die easily. He then explains the combat squads under the Desolate Fortress Divine Sword Squad is basically like one of the sects in the central plans. The two of them will learn martial arts in the Radiant Demon Squad as well as executing missions. Pointing toward the back, Ma Jin tells the two newly joined members that they all are their seniors. Won Chong jumps to the opportunity to ask questions. He wants to know whether learning martial arts in the Radiant Demon Squad means that everyone shares their martial arts. Unfortunately, Ma Jin explains those learned by themselves belong to them, but the martial arts of the Radiant Demon Squad will be taught here as Won Chong excitedly listens. He is extremely ecstatic to know that he will be learning the famous Radiant Demon arts, while Ma Jin explains that he needs to work hard at learning them if he wants to survive. Yeonshin also heard about the infamous Radiant Demon arts. It is known that the Radiant Demon Squad is one of the more famous squads among the 17 squads because they were able to fight the Plum Blossom Swordsmen, the 24 elite swordsmen of the Manhwa sect, without any casualties. That incident gave even more credibility to the gossip mongers saying that the Desolate Fortress is the strongest in the world. Ma Jin adds that while the Desolate Fortress is affiliated with the imperial family, attacks on the martial artists of the Desolate Fortress don't constitute treason. That is why they must learn whatever they can hear to continuously become stronger. Yeonshin wonders why it's not considered treason. So Ma Jin explains further that there are many eccentrics in the Jianghu. Numerous have lost their minds due to learning demonic arts, or are exceptionally skilled in mobility arts and could mess with government officials before escaping to the high mountains and deep valleys. That is why the dignity of the imperial family isn't applied to them, since their job isn't like a government official's, but to actually fight martial artists. Therefore, if they don't become stronger, they will definitely lose their life. Ma Jin then points to someone sitting in the back, a guy with a blue robe. Ma Jin explains that he got slashed by Namgung's strongest swordsman while out on a mission. He will be able to give them a better description of the technique. The blue-eyed martial artist has experienced the king-style sword arts belonging to the Namgung clan, expressing it to be a really scary one. Yeonshin knows that technique, known to be one of the strongest styles of swordsmanship in the world. It is a supreme martial art only learned by the main descendants of the Namgung clan. Ma Jin tells the blue-eyed man to hurriedly come over. While Yeonshin thinks that the Namgung's strongest swordsman is known to be the strongest martial master of Central Plain. This man fought such a skilled master and came back alive. This speaks of the strength of the Radiant Squad members, and this senior of is known as Chong Myong. He heard that Yeonshin's swift sword art is pretty exceptional, so he wants to start with him. Following his words, Yeonshin goes to the middle of the area to fight Chong Myong. The instant he goes for his sword, Yeonshin immediately concentrates on using his aura. This makes the members of the squad watch tense in anticipation as to how he would fight a blue-robe martial artist. Looking at how high-spirited Yeonshin is, Chong Myong is smiling as he takes up his sword in a calm and relaxing manner. Just as tradition goes, Chong Myong introduces himself and claims to be born and raised in Xiangyang while mustering his own inner energy. In kind, Yeonshin also does the same, but what's intriguing is that no one really knows Shinya, the place where Yeonshin was born and raised. The matter of the fact is still that such a place exists and produces such martial art. Before they start trading sword strikes, Chong Myong tells him that he can feel the wind being produced even if it's a 10-year-old kid using the tri-sword technique. That is why, while fighting, he can find out how one swings their sword, a little instruction he points out to Yeonshin. Chong Myong adds that making it this far at such a young age means he is quite talented, and he wants Yeonshin to show all of that talent with swords right at this fight. The moment Yeonshin grabs his sword's handle, he immediately starts a sword resonance. This surprised the members around, along with Ma Jin, who intently watching. Right at this second, all Yeonshin thinks about is to focus his strength and inner energy on his sword, to strike it toward the leisurely standing Chong Myong. Yeonshin is waiting. As of now, he can feel his opponent breathing with energy detection. The moment he gets the timing he thinks is right, he puts strength into his step, dashes toward his opponent, and instantly appears in front of him. Yeonshin already swings his sword in that instant. Yet, Chong Myong finished with his to meet the incoming sword strike. Unfortunately, Yeonshin's strength seems lacking and he gets pushed back for a bit. This confuses him for a moment, wondering when his opponent has the time to raise his sword. But he gets back on his feet, knowing his opponent is the martial master who survived against the strongest swordsman in Namgung after all. With that in mind, Yeonshin goes for another attack, thinking that going against such an opponent is more feasible than he thought. Right after he did a feint, Yeonshin turned around to strike Chong Myong's abdomen. Yet he seems to already see it and blocks it with his sword. That instant, Chong Myong disappears right in front of Yeonshin into thin air. What one thing he knows for sure is he is coming, and just as he thought, Chong Myong appears from behind him going to strike Yeonshin's neck. Fortunately, he is able to see it and ducks a bit to dodge it and launch his own attack. Chong Myong's experience proved to be deep as he jumped off in the arena to dodge the attack, leaving only his bandana to receive the sword strike. This reveals an interesting fact, which is that turns out Chong Myong is one from the noble race. On the other hand, the series' exchange of attacks surprised literally the whole members of the Radiant Demon Squad, including their captain, Ma Jin, who for sure is able to see everything. On the other hand, Yeonshin is still waiting for another attack to come his way while thinking about how true the rumors are after having to experience them firsthand. Seeing his opponent doesn't make his move, Yeonshin decides to try using the limit releasing technique he created on his sword to launch an attack. But he is surprised to see the members of the squad all making weird faces. Once he realizes that, he lowers his sword, asking what Chong Myong thinks about his sword skills. Yeonshin seems to think that Chong Myong went easy on him, so he asks him to be honest with his evaluation. Chong Myong asks how old Yeonshin is instead of answering, frustrating him a bit. So Yeonshin reveals to him that he is only 15 years old, asking whether it is important. So he states that their enemies won't go easy on them just because they are young, and the most important thing right now is their skill, signifying he really wants to know what his senior thinks of him. That only surprised Chong Myong further, and still doesn't give out his evaluation. Yeonshin can only think that he has a short life to begin with. There is no meaning in talking about his age. The members of the squad also being so surprised to know that their newly joined members are only 15 years old and already so skilled. There are even a few who think Yeonshin is a mistake made by the heavens. There is one who has been to the Dragon Phoenix Summit a few times, but he never seen anything like Yeonshin. He even doubts one can become like Yeonshin if one has learned the instinct honing arts from birth. There is another one who has been the most talented person in his city, but pales in comparison to their newly joined junior. After looking around, Yeonshin turns his gaze toward his captain, who looks so rigid, making anyone wonder what he might think. One thing for sure is that after battling only a few moves with the Blue Robe members, Yeonshin's talent is now known to be extremely terrifying.